Hello and welcome everyone again into another video. In today's video I will be talking about the top teams in the Great League Season 16, and this is the second version because in the first one we were trying to anticipate the meta, and sometimes most of the stuff we predicted were actually accurate. Some of it wasn't accurate. I think the correct term is like wasn't popular, because whenever the new update, like a new moves drop, we expect some Pokemons to be meta relevant, but the thing is people don't feel like they change too much, so sometimes they just stick to one thing that's good and then they keep spamming it, which is actually the smart way to do. It's like in this game you have to spend lots of resources to make a new team sometimes, but sometimes you don't have to do that. You can have like some stuff you already have built and you can just use them. My name is Yasser Alid. I'm a Twitch streamer. I stream on Twitch Monday and Friday, and during the weekend feel free to give me a follow on Twitch, and I will be talking about the top teams in the Open Great League. So this is the best video to prepare you to the Great League. Great League starting this Friday, and as always we divide every cup into good leads, safe swaps, closers. Good leads are Pokemon that tend to have a good fast move pressure, a baiting move, and a nuking move. Safe swap is a Pokemon that does well against most of the meta, and with some fast move energy lead you can flip some close matchups. As an example, Umbreon can beat Medi in the zero. If you are, I think, one turn ahead. Licky can beat Medi in the zero, even though Medi is doing super effective damage, right? Even though you always go Medi into Licky. As an example, Azu can beat Venusaur. If Azu has, I think, 2 seconds lead, like a bubble and a half, Sableye can beat Azu in the 2 shield if Sableye has 2 Shadow Claws lead. Dugong doesn't have a bad matchup against Medi. Pelipper, well, Pelipper sucks against electric, but it's a water type that can beat the grass. It's a flying type that can beat the rock type, because yes, the rock takes super effective, but you'll not see rock that much. The only rock Pokemon you will see is Bastion, and just not because it's rock type, it's because it has a massive defense stat. So the best lead in this cup, according to PvPoke, well, it's not the best lead. The best Pokemon in PvPoke, if we go and check the ranking for the Great League, the best Pokemon is Medicham. Second best Pokemon is Carbink. Third best Pokemon is Licky. Fourth best Pokemon is Shadow Gligar. And we love this Pokemon: Registeel, Gligar, Swampert, Poliwrath, Steelix, Stunfisk, Sableye, Scrafty, Dubwool, Pelipper, Cresselia. This streamer doesn't like Cresselia, and we try to not make that many videos about Cresselia. So if you're looking for the Cresselia team, you might find one here. You might is 30% yes, 70% no. But if I say we may, I think it's 70%. That's how I learned when I was learning English. That's what they told me to. I don't know. Okay. So the best lead, the best Pokemon in this cup is Medicham. Medi get a nerf to psychic damage, but to be honest, Medi doesn't care about that. The thing about Medi has like a tremendous amount of stats, good typing, and tremendous coverage, like probably the best coverage. It has fighting move, ice move, and a psychic move. The second best Pokemon is Carbink, which is a closer. Okay, I'm gonna talk about the leads. Lantern get actually rebalance. Well, sometimes I think rebalance is not the correct word. People said nerfed, people said buffed. I think the correct word is reworked. What does reworked mean? It just became a different Pokemon. It's not the old Lantern we used to use. It's not the old Lantern that you safe swap, and if it's a Spark, you can beat most of this stuff in the neutral matchups as long as they aren't grass. As an example, you could beat Altaria. But now Spark does I think 2 more damage, generate 1 less energy if I am correct. So you're more of like a fast move pressure Pokemon with decent charge move coverage. So what that means is that in the future, if we ever get a Shadow Lantern, the Shadow Lantern will be busted with a Spark. That doesn't mean it will be bad with Water Gun. It's actually going to be good with both. Gligar is a Pokemon that we never thought that it would be good, because it had 3 horrible fast moves on charge moves. Wing Attack used to be bad. Aerial Ace used to be the worst charge move in the game. Dig used to be the second worst charge move in the game. Now it's decent. Dig is decent. Aerial Ace is slightly above average. Not good. below good, above average. Which make it decent as a decent answer to the meta that's full of Carbink, Medi, Registeel, and Stunfisk, and Carbink, and Scrafties, and Medis, and Sableyes. You actually beat all of these stuff if you have... Well, the Sableye matchup is IB dependent. But you technically don't have a bad matchup. The Dugong matchup is pretty interesting because if they decide to Ice Shard you all the way down, you win the 0. You can force a shield, or you can force them to throw their energy. So it's not as comfortable of a matchup as long as you have the Shadow. Venusaur is one of my favorite Pokemons, probably in the top 5 favorite Pokemons that I do like, I do love to use whenever I can. And this Pokemon hits like a truck. 2 Frenzies KO anything as long as they are neutral. A Frenzy plus couple fast moves can win you lots of matchups. Venusaur can beat Sandslash in the 2 as long as you land the Frenzy. You land the Frenzy, then you Vine Whip all the way down. Yes, it's resisted, but this Pokemon hits like no tomorrow. It's just too good of a Pokemon. Scrafty get back to the meta after the nerf to the Noctowl. Now we see it here and there because it has a better matchup against the Carbink. And since Licky and Umbreon are back to the meta, and there is no better Pokemon that can deal with those two better than Scrafty. Pop once, farm all the way down. Then you leave with a foul play to hit whatever comes in after. Toxapex is slightly interesting of a Pokemon because it's supposed to be good, but it's always underwhelming due to the having horrible charge move called Brian, and you forced to use it because there is no better option. Now the safe swaps. Licky has been the best safe swap in the game until they buffed Noctowl, but now since Noctowl now isn't used, so Licky is back to be the best safe swap. Okay, Umbreon is another best safe swap. Which one is better? It's actually debatable. Some people would say Umbreon is the best safe swap. Some people would say Licky safe swap. And there is no actually correct answer. Azu, I have it as a safe swap because Azu is solid in the current meta. You could run it a safe swap, lead, or a closer. It's actually decent. My only problem with Azu in the current meta is that you need the 3 charge moves that Azu has. You need Play Rough, you need Hydro Pump, you need Ice Beam. So every time I run it, I just need the other move, which I don't have. Sableye is back. Well, Sableye was never bad. Sableye was always good. Well, it's still decent. It's slightly even better. There is no Noctowl to punch you, so you can use it as a safe swap. In fact, if you have a Shadow one, it's even better in the current meta. Why? Because Power Gem plus Shadow Claws. Power Gem almost does lots of damage to the Dugong. The problem with Sableye is that it doesn't beat Sandslash if both are Shadow, because Sandslash gets to move faster, so you need to have like some energy lead. Pelipper is arguably the second best flyer. Some people would say it's still the best flyer, but my favorite now is Gligar. I love this Pokemon, and I actually powered up 2 Gligars, Shadow and non-Shadow, and it cost me like 600 rare candy because for some reason I didn't have candies for the Gligar. Well, to be fair, we never had a good event for Gligar. Whenever there is a Gligar event, you're lucky if you catch 3 of them. Moving to the closers, G-Fisk is still one of the best closers, but now it's arguably dead. Some people say you can't use it anymore, but Registeel is still the best closer in this game. Why? Because it's just too good of a Pokemon, and the better IV you have, the better Registeel closing power you will have. As an example, if you have a rank top 5 IV, which requires you to waste 20,000 dust, to do that trade and get like a one attack 15-15 or something, 114-14. I don't know. It's not on top of my head now. But yeah, if you get a top 5 PvP IV Registeel, you can get to 2 zaps against Medi, which means you will be able to flip the 0. It's a decent matchup. If you have 3 attack or below, you flip the G-Fisk matchup by having a Mudshot breakpoint. Carbink on paper is supposed to be the second best Pokemon, but the problem is everyone has Medi, everyone has Licky, everyone has Gligar. So if everyone has the hard counters, you cannot run that Pokemon. Same applies to Bastion. It's much worse to use, which I'm happy about. I love this meta. There's not that many Basties, and there's not that many Noctowls. And yeah, that's pretty much the best meta Pokemons. Honorable mention to A slash, L slash is still decent, which I hate to say it because the Pokemon is actually RPS, because due to the fact that it loses hard to its own counters and it beat what it's supposed to beat pretty hard as well. Dubwall has some issues. Gliscor is another Gligar you could use. Now moving into some anti-meta picks, and a big shout out here to Shadow Grumble being the best Charmer in the current meta, and Shadow Poliwrath being the second best fighter. No, it's actually not the second best fighter. The second best fighter is arguably Deoxys Defense, the third is Scrafty, and then Poliwrath comes after. But Poliwrath isn't bad, it's actually decent. Just because it's fourth doesn't mean it's bad, okay? I know a fourth regional winner. He's so good at the game. Okay, another honorable mention here, probably to Cresselia and A9, as long as it's a charm A9. If it's not a charm A9, it's not as good. So yeah, that's pretty much the good Pokemons. Jumpluff, you could use it. It's never been bad. It still has a decent play. Dead Pokemons, those Pokemons are dead. Try not to use them. I mean, you could use them if you want, but up to you. Those Pokemons are dead, and I don't think they are that good. Honorable mention to Greedent. Greedent now is the second best normal type Pokemon after Licky. Arguably, Licky is the only good, but this Pokemon is not bad. Try not to sleep on it. It's actually decent in Great League and in Ultra League. Now with Mudshot, you can have a better play against Registeel. So we talked about the Pokemons. Let's talk about the meta Pokemons, the meta teams. So the best team on PvPoke is supposed to be, if you go and you try to build a team, PvPoke will suggest Medi, and it will suggest Carbink as a coverage and as a coverage Pokemon, and then it will suggest Registeel as a third best option. But if you are around this channel, we always say this is not the best team. The best team is the top 3 PvPoke, and it is a mistake here. Top 3 PvPoke are Medi, Licky, Carbink. What is Registeel? Well, Registeel doesn't do well in the ones sometimes. Registeel is too powerful because it's the only Pokemon that can beat its own counters in the zero. That's what Registeel is known for. So this is the top 3 PvPoke team. Is it the best team though? Well, I haven't seen anyone using those 3, but that doesn't mean they are bad. It's actually decent. The problem with this team is that Gligar can beat your lead, beat your back, and Licky beats Gligar. It's low-key a neutral matchup. But sometimes you can't rely on having only one answer to a very popular Pokemon. An alternative option you could do Pelipper Double Steel. People said like, oh yes, the Carbink is not a steal. Well, it's not a steal. It has the same weaknesses. So when I say like it's double steal, so it used to be a G-Fisk here, but then G-Fisk fell off the meta after the EQ nerf because now you need the 3 EQs to beat the Azus, right? So it has the same weaknesses as a steal, and they almost beat the same stuff. You beat the Flyers, you beat the Fairies, you beat the Ice, you lose to the Fighters, right? And you lose to the ground. So yeah, so like I always say, Rock is just a bad version of Steel type. But Go Battle Log says something different. Go Battle Log says that the best team is Medi, Sableye, Lantern. Why this is the best team? Well, technically those 3 has been pretty popular since they gave Lantern Surf, and you can never go wrong. So I would say if you are new to the game, just run those 3. Because 2 of those 3 has been meta since day 1 of the game, since literally 3 seasons ago when they announced GBL, Medi, Sableye. They've been everywhere. Lantern was there as a hard Azu answer that can beat Altaria as well, but it wasn't as popular because it didn't have Surf back in the days. But Yashir, you talked about these teams. What will you be running? What am I going to be running is actually a team that I ran before at the beginning of the season, and this is the team, you can call it my new meta team in the Great League, which is the latest one, which is at the beginning of the season, so it's supposed to be 3 weeks ago. Shadow Venusaur with Registeel and Shadow, Gligar. For the Venusaur, you need the Shadow. For the Gligar, it doesn't matter. Why do you need Shadow Venusaur? Shadow Venusaur destroys Medi in the 1, while the non-Shadow lose the 1. Okay, keep that in mind. Shadow Venusaur can beat A-Slash if you land Frenzy. You can Vine Whip all the way down after by just double shielding. And then anything... And something I found out, like, people says that this team is weak to A-Slash. I played against 6 A-Slashes. I won against 4. I lost to 2. Why? Or how? Every A-Slash team is weak to Gligar in the back. Just because you lose lead doesn't mean you give up. Sometimes your back Pokemons beat their back line. Keep that in mind. There is always another chance. Don't give up early in the game. And another team that worth mentioning is one of my all-time favorite teams, G-Fisk Sableye Core with Pelipper. And this team was one of the top rated teams, and it got very popular after I used it for a couple days. And once it became popular, I stopped using it because my goal is just to make new teams. Whenever the new teams is being used by everyone, it's no longer new, so we have to make something new. Something that worth mentioning, Charizard is still good, and there is a video on the channel hitting number 7 in the Go Battle League leaderboard with this team, but it's Healthy Clash team. He used to use Medi, Noctowl, Charizard. Noctowl is dead, so you can use Pelipper now instead. You can use Gligar as well. The problem with using Gligar is that you're too vulnerable to Azu. So technically you need the Pelipper in case they have an Azu. There was a popular team that is Noctowl, Medi, Surfetch. Now adjusting this team, the double fighters to the current meta, you need Pelipper and you need Scrafty with it. And you just throw Medi there to bait out the Charmers, to bait out the safe swap in case there is a Lantern in the lead. So that's just some adjustment. But one of the teams that actually worth a huge shout out is the J-Jan's team. This team became very popular after King Ivy started using it, and King Ivy actually has many videos about this team on his YouTube channel. You can go and check it. This team is even better this season. That's the title of the video. So copy paste, go to King's channel and find this video. It was made by J-Jan, and then King just made it all over the place. So shout out to J-Jan for making the team. Shout out to King Ivy for popularizing this team. If you have no skills, some people might get offended. It's fine. You don't have the skills in everything. If you like the game, you don't have the skills. There is a team, you don't need the skills. You just tap your screen all the way. And this team, there is a video actually in the channel called John punished the 3300 battlers with this toxic team. And Jonathan Kelly pushed to 3400 almost with a triple charm last season. In Lantern, Noctowl, Registeel meta. How does he play the Registeel matchup? Well, go and check the video if you are interested. You actually don't need skills, but you need to know how to play the close matchups. How to split the damage whenever you see a Steel Pokemon. That's basically the main one. Another team that's worth mentioning, the Lyles Jeff. Lyles Jeff is one of the best players in the world, and he was he was second in the latest Pokemon Go regional, and he actually used his team, and I won my local Winnipeg's local tournament. Lyles always make interesting, solid teams that have enough bulk and good and a spammy Pokemon and a Pokemon that hits extremely hard. Wholesome popularized this team. So the team is basically Chestnut with Lantern or Frostlass with the Charizard in the back. So this was one of the most popular Charizard teams. So if you are into Charizard, this is a good team. If you are Chestnut, if you want to run Chestnut, this is also one of the good teams. So it's basically Chestnut, 2 answers to Medi, and you use the second Pokemon to beat out the opposing Lantern, so you can or the Azu, so Charizard can sweep later in the game. A core that I expected to be good, which is the Pelipper with Lickitung. Honestly, it wasn't popular because people used a different Pokemon, so I expected everyone to play Pelipper with Licky and Quagsire. I say Gwag, I don't say Quag, okay? Why? Well, because people used the Gligar instead of Pelipper, and they used Lantern or the Swampert instead of the Gwag, because Gwag isn't as good as last season. Last season, it was like one of the best off-meta Pokemons that you could use to answer the Noctowl Lantern meta. Now it's slightly underrated because there are... Gligar just does everything better. And Lantern, if you want an anti-flyer, Lantern is just much better. If you need like a... if you need it for the ground damage, I think you just use a Swampert. But Gligar... There is not that many Lanterns. Gligar was popular because there was so many Lanterns. Now there is so many Venusaurs, so many grass Pokemons. There's so many Serperiors. So you cannot run this Pokemon. It's tough. You can run it. You can use it. A team that I called Frosty is back. The problem with this team is that one of the Pokemons here is not in the game yet, which is the Clodsire. Clodsire is supposed to be a Nidoqueen with Azu's bulk. Imagine Nidoqueen with Azu's bulk. That's Clodsire, which we are supposed to get it anytime soon. So once that Pokemon drops out, this is the team you're supposed to use it with. Shout out to this team, deserve a shout out. DD double ice. You could always replace one of the ices with Umbreon. I use the DD Umbreon literally every season, and as I said, you can replace Umbreon with Dugong, you can replace Dugong with Umbreon, and you can never go wrong with Umbreon DD code. A team that also worth mentioning, the Jason's team. Jason hit #1 with this team. And also Pokemon Go hit #1 with the core Dugong Medi, but he had Gliscor instead of Basti in the back. And last team that still worth mentioning, the triple counter by Wallower. It's not as good. The problem with it is like you just replace one of the farts. As an example, you drop Vigoroth, you use double. The problem with this team is that every Pokemon here lose to Gligar, so you cannot use it. So maybe this is the only season where this team is gonna not be as good. Thank you so much everyone for watching. This is the end of the video. If you like the video, please leave a like on the channel, subscribe, and see you in the next video. Peace.